Folks, so you may be wondering, first, who the heck am I? And second, and more importantly, what happened to Paul, and to Jeff, and to Josh? Well, I'll start with the second first, and say they're all fine, they haven't been eaten by squigs, nor are they out playing some other game. Where they are is letting me speak for a change. And frankly, the way they do, you don't need to hear me very often. But today, I think it's actually a very good time for me to speak. So first, my name is Mark Jacobs. I am the co-founder of Mythic Entertainment, and now the general manager of EA Mythic. But I am also the lead designer of Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning. Why it's important that I'm here today? It's because we're going to talk about crafting. When I first started doing the design for Warhammer over 2 years ago, one of the things that I really wanted to have was a crafting system that was fun, that was innovative, and that was, quite frankly, something that we especially hadn't done before. How did I go about laying this out? How did I go about designing it? It's very simple. I started with two negatives. First negative was I didn't want it to be grindy. Now we all know what that means. It means making hundreds, if not thousands of items that you can't sell. Or if you can sell it, can't sell them for much. Or that you have to give them away. Or you just have to junk them. Because they're not really useful. The grinding is just used to take up time as you go up levels in the game. Did not want that. The other thing I didn't want. I did not want this to be a recipe-based game. Now, it's not that I have anything really against recipe-based games, but frankly, it's been done a lot. Most MMOs use a recipe-based system. So I thought, that's not what I wanted to see for us. So what does that mean to the crafting system as it stands today? Well, first of all, it means that it's not recipe-based. I'll go into that in a little bit. But second, it also means that it is not grindy. We don't want people spending all their time making objects, especially useless objects, in the game just to advance. What we want is for people to have fun. So let's dive right in and start talking about crafting in Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning. First of all, when we say crafting, what we're really talking about is a collection of skills. These skills, at least for now, are apothecary, talisman making, cultivating, magical salvaging, scavenging, and butchering. Apothecary and talisman making are crafting skills. The other four are gathering skills. As a player, you can only have one crafting skill and one gathering skill at any one time. You will learn these skills from trainers throughout the world, starting when your character begins to quest and adventure in the second chapter of their own realm's story. You'll be allowed to switch skills by talking with trainers in-game, but switching skills is a big deal, and all progress made in your previous skill set will be lost, so you need to be sure. To put it simply, the gathering skills get you all the ingredients, and the crafting skills, well, they let you put everything together. We'll start with the gathering skills, so let's delve right into cultivating. Players with the cultivation skill can grow their own weeds and fungi. Most weeds and fungi are apothecary ingredients. You don't need to be in a special place to do cultivating. You can do it everywhere. Let's go over the steps of growing these plants. Before you can grow things, you'll need seeds or spores. There are several ways you can get them. First, there's a merchant in each Chapter 2 that sells all the basic low-level seeds. Certain monsters often drop seeds and spores, and some seeds can also be found from scavenging. You may start with a single plot for growing plants, but as you advance, you will gain as many as 4 plots. By the way, all this is subject to change. Next comes the growth cycle. The growth cycle of weeds and fungi is itself broken down into 3 stages. During the first stage, you can add soil. During the second stage, you can add water. And during the third, you can add nutrients. These items speed up the remaining time in each step, and other additives can affect the chance that something out of the ordinary will grow as well. When a plant is grown, you'll need to harvest it. This places the plant into your backpack and sets the plot back to empty. As you might expect, seeds and spores all have skill level requirements. You won't be able to place high skill level seeds into an empty plot if your skill is too low. Now, let's look at another gathering skill, magical salvaging. Magical salvagers can break down magic items, converting them into magical fragments. These magic items are found in all manner of quests, PvE, and RVR encounters. When a player magically salvages an item, he or she gets to choose which bonus to extract from it. Hey, I'm back. So, let's say that the item you're salvaging has 2 bonuses on it, willpower and intelligence. You get to choose which bonus you want to extract. So sometimes you may want willpower, sometimes you may want intelligence. The point is, it's your decision. Salvaging also produces magical essences. Primarily, these fragments and essences are used to make talismans, which we'll discuss when we move on to the crafting skills. For now, let's continue talking about gathering skills, which leads us to scavenging and butchering. I mention them together because these gathering skills are 2 sides of the same coin, since they both describe the skill of extracting resources from dead creatures. There is an important distinction, however. Scavenging can only be used on relatively intelligent, sentient creatures. Butchering is only used on non-sentient creatures. Think of it this way. If it's smart enough to wear clothes, then it's probably got pockets, and then you'll need to scavenge. No clothes means no pockets, and you'll need to butcher. So, let's talk about scavenging. The first thing we'll need is a corpse. In order to scavenge a dead monster, that monster must be completely looted. There will be an easy way to tell if a creature can be scavenged. There will be flies buzzing around the corpse. Next, you must own the scavenging rights for that creature. Scavenging rights are initially owned by the player or group who killed the monster. After a while, however, the scavenging rights open up to any scavenger. When you first learn the skill, you will be able to scavenge dead monsters up to level 5. As your skill increases, you will be able to scavenge high-level dead monsters. We'll finish discussing gathering skills by talking about butchering. Butchering is for all intents and purposes exactly like scavenging, except only non-sentient monsters can be butchered. So the only thing you can recover from their corpses are meat, skin, and bones. What do you expect? It's butchering. These ingredients have very specific and important uses, however, which leads us to our first crafting skill, apothecary. Apothecary is a skill that allows players to create potions, lotions, and powders. You can use this skill anywhere, any place, and any time. Once a player has the apothecary skill, he or she will then need some ingredients. Merchants will sell all the necessary ingredients to make low-level potions. However, ingredients for high-level apothecary will naturally come from cultivating, scavenging, and butchering, and a few other surprises. So now that we know where we get ingredients, let's run through how a player uses apothecary. The first thing a player needs is a container. No crafting, of course, can be done without one. It's messy, and it burns your clothing. Most apothecary containers have 4 slots. The first slot is for the main ingredient. Main ingredients determine what kind of potion you are going to make. However, main ingredients are very, very unstable. To make the overall concoction stable enough to succeed, you'll need to add additional ingredients. Once you started hunting down higher level ingredients, skilled potion makers will realize that they can start designing potions. So the apothecary system at its heart is all about experimentation. It's about taking this ingredient and that ingredient and that ingredient, putting it together and see what happens. Sometimes things work really well. Sometimes things work exceptionally well. Some ingredients make concoctions more stable. Some make potion effects last longer, and some even increase the number of doses made. If your creation is unstable, there is a chance that the potion will fail. Luckily, although your container may be destroyed in such a failure, the ingredients gathered by player skill cannot be lost. So, here's another example of how we leave so much of the decision-making regarding the crafting system up to the player. Let's say you're going to do RVR tonight. Maybe you only have 2 hours. So you're going to craft some potions that are only going to last this long and will be very powerful. On the other hand, if you were going to do PvE and wanted to play for, say, 6 hours, you're going to craft potions that are a little less powerful, but will last this long. Furthermore, there's always the chance that something truly extraordinary might happen, making your potion a lot more than you expected. And let's finish by talking about our last crafting skill, talisman making. As you might have guessed, this skill allows players to make talismans. We're kind of clever, aren't we? Talismans are minor items of power, which can be attached to some armor and weapons. Only rare and powerful items can have talismans attached to them. To make a talisman, you will need 4 items from various crafting and gathering skills, including, of course, a magical fragment for magical salvaging. You could consider this the main ingredient. Combining these objects requires a container, just like apothecary. The overall power of the talisman depends on the total power of the 4 ingredients. More powerful fragments and essences are likely to make a better talisman. Some talisman effects give bonuses to stats, armor, and resistances. More powerful talismans can have much more elaborate bonuses. I can assure you of one thing, that no matter what, you will see that what we are trying to create is something different, something interesting, and we hope and expect that it will be fun as well. If you look at what we did at Camelot, taking something that was heavily evolutionary, but with enough revolutionary things in it, like RVR, to make it a great game. That is what we're trying to do with the crafting system. Take a non-recipe based system. Take a non-grindy based system. These are not new ideas, but take them and put them together in a really interesting way. A way that will be fun for the players, whether they're PvE geared, whether they're RVR geared, whether they just, frankly, even want to craft a little bit. All in all, I think we are on track to having a great system. But in the end, it will be up to you to decide whether we've hit it or not. I hope we have. I hope we've hit a home run with this system, just as we have with things like the Tome of Knowledge, with public quests, and other things in our game that are really going to set a new standard for MMOs. We are working very hard on this system, and over the next few months, we're going to talk a lot more about not only what I've talked about today, but other systems as well. We hope you find them as compelling to play as they have been to make. But no matter what, I thank you all for your interest in our game, in crafting, and just frankly everything else that we do here. I hope you enjoyed as much as we have enjoyed making the game so far. Thank you very, very much.